Okay, up next. I thought this would be a fun one to analyze because it's a pop song, and who doesn't like a good pop song? And this is actually just kind of a beautiful song. It's a sad song, so we can kind of guess that it's probably going to be in a minor key. This is a song called The Scientist by Coldplay. Okay, so let's dive in and listen to it. And should we listen to this piano arrangement I found of it or the actual song? Let's listen to the actual song, like the full song. Why not? Okay, so let's just listen to it, and then we will walk through the chords of it.
Come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry. You don't know how lovely you are. I had to find you, tell you I need you, tell you I set you apart. Tell me your secrets and ask me your questions. Oh, let's go back to the start. Running in circles, coming in tails, heads on the sides apart. Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. Oh, take me back to the start. Just guessing at numbers and figures, pulling the puzzles apart. Questions of science, science and progress did not speak as loud as my heart. Tell me you love me, come back and haunt me. Oh, when I rush to the start, running in circles, chasing tails, coming back as we are. Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. I'm going back to the start. Oh,
Okay, really, really beautiful song. Fairly simple when it comes to looking at how it's actually constructed, which means nothing bad. You'll find some of your favorite songs are actually really simple, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes the simplest songs are the most powerful just because of the simplicity that they use to convey what they want to do. Okay, so let's look at what we've got here. So, what key are we in, right? Our first biggest fundamental question. Our key signature shows, remember, one of two things. It shows either F major or D minor. So, because D minor is the relative minor to F major, and this is the key signature for F major and D minor. Let's look at what our first chord is, D, F, and A. That is a big fat D minor chord, and he just plays that over and over. Right? So pretty safe to say that we're in D minor because we just get a whole bunch of D minor right away. So let's call it D minor. With that, let's jump over and just write out our possible chords in the key of D minor. So let me put the right key signature on here. There we go. And our chords. Here's our 1 chord, our 2 chord, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's our 1 chord again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Okay. Now, back to Coldplay. So we have this first chord, big D minor chord. So we're going to call that a 1 for that whole bar. Second chord, our notes are D, F, and B. Remember B flat, actually. So D, F, and B. So it's inverted. It's not in root position. So let's go and look at what it could be. Do we have any chords that are just D, F, and B? Well, let's see. Here's a D, F, and A. So it's not that. Here's a D, but no other ones. Here's an F and an A. Oh, that's not what we want. D, F, and B. Right there. So it's our 6th chord. It's a B flat major chord. So D, F, and B flat. Sorry, I should have been saying B flat this whole time. So it's our 6th chord. B flat major. So major 6. Now we're going to go to another inverted chord. And I know it's inverted because it's not stacked like a triad like this one is. It's got a space in there. So we are on a C, F, and A. So let's look at what we have. Do we have a C, F, and an A? So right here, F, A, C, right? This is what it looks like in root position. So it's a 3 chord. So far we have 1, 6, 3 is our chord progression. And this is going to be a major chord because the 3rd chord in minor is major. So there's an F major chord. Now this one gives us a little bit of pause, and it's interesting. And frankly, this is why I chose this song, is to deal with this one particular chord. So our notes here are C, F, and G. Now we have a second in that chord between the F and the G. A second. Now what we know mostly so far is that chords are built on thirds, and there ought not to be a second in there. An F and a G don't belong in the chord at the same time. So this chord, the C, F, and G, that's not a triad, and there's no way to get that into a triad. Even using a 7th chord, we can't do it. Here's the notes, C, F, and G. So what I want to do is be able to see a triad here. So if I treat the F as the root, and I just write a triad even as a 7th chord, I get an F, A, C, and E. So I don't get that G anywhere. If I try to make G the root, even using a 7th chord, I get a G and an F, but I don't get that C. So there's no, and we know if we use C as a root, it looks just like that. So there's no way to get that into a predictable triad, right? So what we could do is leave off a note. Let's just leave off a note for a second. We'll come back to the left off note. I can come close to getting into a triad by calling it a C major chord without a third. I can use the C and the G, and there's no E in it, right? Or I could call it an F and a C with no third in it. That gets me the F and the C. G, calling G the root doesn't really get me anything except a 7th, which I don't think is, it doesn't sound like a 7th, so we're not going to call it that. So, at this point, we get into something called suspended chords, which is what I think our real answer is here. So what's happening here is that it is, in my opinion, this chord, a C chord, but instead of an E that would be predicted to make it a C major chord, we've raised that by a half step up to make an F where we ought to have an E. So we call that a suspended chord. It's a whole new kind of chord that we haven't looked at yet. It's got a cool sound. Stick with me on that one. We're going to encounter these chords soon. But what it basically means is a suspended chord means that you have either a fourth, the interval of a fourth, which is what we have here, or sometimes it can be done with the interval of a sixth, like that. So you would call that a suspended 6 is what you would call this, and you call this one a suspended 4. And you abbreviate that SUS. So a suspended 4, meaning the third of the triad is raised to be a fourth. And it makes this cool sound like that. Let me give that to you one more time. Right? It's kind of a cool sound. So that's what we've got going here, is a C sus. So sus, S-U-S, is short for suspended. C sus 4. We can also have sus 2 chords, actually, sometimes 2, where we would add a major second to the chord. So C sus 4 is what I'm going to call that. Now, how do I do that in Roman numerals? We're in the key of D minor. So C is the 7. So I'm going to call it 7, and then in parentheses, I'm just going to say sus 4. So that's what we have there. Okay? And then the chord progression starts over. So we're going to repeat this chord progression over and over and over and over and over until he goes up higher, right here. Nobody said it was easy. That part. Let's look at what changes here. So here we go right to, so we're on that sus 4 chord right before, and now we skip the D minor, we jump right to the B flat major, so right to our 6th chord, and we stay on that for 2 bars. And then we go, so it's not a new chord, it's just a different order, right? So we stay on that for 2 bars, and then we go to our F, A, C, our F chord, which in the key of D minor is 3. And then we go back to our sus chord, and then we do that pattern of 4 bars again. So 2 bars on the 6th, 1 bar on the 3, and then our sus chord. And then we go to a new chord here. It would be this hard. Right there, we have a C, E, G. So it's like this sus chord because it's a 7, but it's just going to be a normal 7 chord. Major 7 here, because it's just a C major chord. And then the same thing, but without the root here. And then he sings this, and then we get to the chorus. All the same chords. Moving forward, all the same chords. all the same chords. Here we start arpeggiating the chords, meaning playing one note at a time. This is the nobody said it was easy part. Pretty simple. And we keep going. And I don't think I see anything new. We're just kind of playing around with those same chords. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole song. It's really just those couple of chords played around with. And that weird sus chord. Now, those sus chords, I should mention, are not very weird in pop music. We use them a lot in pop music. We like the sound of them. They show up a lot. So keep an eye out for those. Okay, so up next, I'll give you a PDF of my analysis of the complete piece, compare it with yours, and see how you did.